Hey guys, so as promised, today's video is going to be about dating and boundaries in dating because I believe that's something that we need to talk about. And if you did find this video helpful by the end of it, feel free to share that with someone else and that can help them as well. So let's get right into the video. Okay, so a lot of the things that I will be saying or I will be talking about today will be from a book that I have been reading for a few months now. And you guys, it's one of my goals for this year, to read as many books as possible. And so I'm already almost done with this book, so I'm really excited about it. And so the book is called Boundaries in Dating by Henry Cloud. And he takes a Christian stance on it. And I think that's why I found it so, relatable and things like that. Before we get into what boundaries you should have as a woman of God, I believe it is important to define boundaries for those of you who might not know. And I think Henry Cloud does a great job of, defining what boundaries are. And so I'm just going to read right from the book. He said, a boundary is a property line. Just as a physical fence marks out where your yard ends and your neighbor's begins, a personal boundary distinguishes what your emotional or personal property is and what belongs to someone else. Boundaries show what we are and are not, what we agree and disagree with, and what we love and hate. And I think that pretty much sums up what boundaries are. It's basically telling someone or telling people, okay, this is where I draw the line, this is where my limit is, and you can't cross that. Because imagine if you don't have any boundaries, how would that person know what you accept and don't accept, what you agree with or don't agree with? So if that person crosses a line that they shouldn't have crossed, you can't blame them because you didn't define your boundaries. Think about it like this. You have a house. Let's say you have a house and your neighbor's house is really close to yours, but there's no fence, there's no telling where the property of that neighbor begins and where yours ends. You don't know. None of you guys know. And so there will be conflict. And if that neighbor gets on your side of the property, you can't say anything because there's no limit, there's no boundary, there's no fence. And so basically, that's what boundaries are. It's telling other people that's what I agree with, or telling them I don't deal with that, I don't agree with that, or this is where my limits are and you should respect that. Now you might ask, what are some boundaries that I should have? The first one is that you shouldn't tolerate deception. Honesty should be something that you require of your partner at all times, because not perfection but honesty. And in the book, the author states, honesty is the bedrock of any relationship, and dating is no exception. He also says, when deception appears, let that be a big warning sign. Put on the brakes. Do not let yourself be deceived. So deception is something that you should not tolerate in a partner. And if you see that that person has a tendency of deceiving, of lying, you should immediately put on the brakes. Because there are two types of liars: people who lie because they're ashamed of something, or they feel guilty, or they lie because they want to hide something. But also there are some people who lie just to lie. There's no point in lying, there's no reason, they just lie about everything. And when you ask them about it, when you confront them, what they tell you is, oh, it's just white lies. Do not accept deception or lying in your relationship, because if you don't deal with that right now, then that is going to be a huge problem in marriage. And another type of deception that you yourself might find yourself in is leading someone on. And when I say leading someone on, is, by your actions, by your words, trying to act a certain way with someone else or someone of the opposite sex because you feel like you like attention, or or maybe you might do it without even realizing it. So leading someone on with your actions and your words is deception. If you don't see a future with that person, do not entertain that. Do not lead them on. Another thing is to not wait until later to make faith part of your relationship, because faith is just as real to your life as your career and taste in movies or whatever else, or whatever other hobbies you might have. If faith is such an important part of your life, you should not wait until later to discuss that with your partner and to understand that this is where both of us are standing. This is what we believe in. This is what our stance is. And I think that's why it's so important to not just, get into a relationship and then discuss, okay, so what do you believe in? Or what is your Christian life like? Do you believe in God? Is Jesus your Savior? No. These conversations should be part of the start of you talking to that person, getting to know that person. You should know what their faith is. You should know what they believe in, and you should know what if they believe that Jesus is Lord or not. Don't wait until you get into the relationship, until you deep into it, and then you're like, well, so what is your faith like? No. Another thing is to be careful not to let yourself in idolatry for that person or that relationship, because many of us, especially us women, because society puts a lot of pressure on women to have kids by a certain age and stuff like that. And so a lot of women, when they get in their late 20s, they feel like, oh, my life is like, oh my God, I have not dated at all. I'm 25 and I have no boyfriend or no fiance or even no husband. And that's okay. If you're waiting for the one that God has for you, it is always worth the wait. And a lot of times when these women get into relationship because they've waited so long, and I'm not saying that to judge anyone, I'm just saying that sometimes it happens when they get into a relationship, they're like, that person is everything that I've prayed for. They tend to idolize that person, they tend to idolize that relationship to a point where if someone else tells them something about that person, or they're like, I don't think that relationship is heading the right way, and the right people, the people that they trust, tell them that, but because they're so in love with that person and so content with that relationship, they just ignore everyone else, like the people that they once trusted. And this is something that we should be careful of. And last thing, which is more like an advice than anything else, is to not get in a relationship to cure loneliness. Do not get in a relationship to cure loneliness. That is so important. And I want to speak on that because I'm working through that. I myself am working through that in this season of my life, where sometimes when you hear that friend is engaged, that person is married, that person got into a relationship and they're pretty sure that's gonna be their husband, you tend to have, to feel a little bit, lonely at times. But if you get into a relationship to cure loneliness, it is not going to do anything for you. As only God can cure loneliness. And dating was never meant to cure loneliness. It was meant to fulfill adult needs for male-female romantic relationship on the way toward marriage. That's the point of dating. And loneliness is to be cured by relationships with God and other people. So it is important for us to get to a place where we are happy with our lives apart from a dating relationship in order to be happy with one. So get hobbies, start painting, start crocheting, start doing other things. Be involved in your church ministry while you're waiting, so that you don't wait for that relationship to be happy, but you are happy outside of that relationship with God, and surrounding yourself with godly friendships, surrounding yourself with people who are as in love with God as you are. That's it for today's video, guys, and I hope you really enjoyed it, and I really hope that God spoke to you to anything or everything that I have said today. I will be continuing this series, so if you do like it, don't hesitate to share and like, and also subscribe to my channel so I know that you like that video and I can continue to do it, because I would love to continue to do a series on dating, boundaries in dating, and everything else that I have retained from that book, because it's such a good book and I really recommend it. Thanks again for watching, you guys, and I'll see you next time.